Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to the channel, and I'm here for a different type of video for you guys. So if you guys didn't know, this year, 2021, marks 10 years for me being a Breaking Benjamin fan. Now, if you didn't know, Breaking Benjamin was pretty much the band that started it all for me in my journey with rock and metal. I mean, they were really the band that kind of, pushed me into this style more, especially hard rock, because without Breaking Benjamin, I wouldn't have gotten into bands like Red and 3 Days Grace, and pretty much bands of that variety of 2000s hard rock, alternative metal, whatever you want to call it. And then I eventually got into metalcore, and then I got into other styles of metal like prog, and then I got into prog rock, and just, I mean, the list goes on, of course. I've gotten into so many different styles of rock and metal, and I got to give all the thanks to Breaking Benjamin, so that's what this video is pretty much about. So yeah, Breaking Benjamin, the band that started it all for me, they were really the first band that I heavily got into. Now, some people might say, really? So you just got into them in 2011? You got into your first band only 10 years ago? You think, your first band would have been long before 10 years ago. But the thing about me is, at least back in the past, music was not really my thing. Like, I think some people kind of get confused of this idea, like, oh, what were you doing then? Like, what were you doing before you discovered music? Well, I of course had other hobbies and stuff, so I didn't really care about music as much. And at the time, I just listened to what everyone else listened to, like whether it was a friend or a family member, if they were playing something, if it was in the car or in the house or something, then I would just listen to it, because, what other option is there, right? So, yeah, so Breaking Benjamin, it definitely was a significant feeling getting into this band, because I remember in 2010, I was just into one song of theirs, and that song was Blow Me Away. And that song was, of course, featured in Halo, and at the time, that was like the only song of theirs that I've really liked. And then in 2011, that's when I was like, I think I should invest in their discography more. I should check out more songs from this band. And then I checked out I Will Not Bow. I believe that was the second song that I got into. And then I got into songs like Give Me a Sign, The Diary of Jane. What else did I get into? Breath, of course, Lights Out. I mean, a lot of songs. I mainly fell in love with songs that were from Dear Agony and Phobia. And at the time, and even now, I think is their best work. Now, back when I first became a fan, Dear Agony was actually my favorite. Nowadays, I would say that Phobia is my favorite. I think that's their best work overall, but with Dear Agony being a very close second. I mean, it's a very close second. I mean, they're almost tied, basically. I mean, there was actually once a time in my Breaking Benjamin journey where Saturate used to be my second favorite. That was only a couple of years ago, actually, but I would say that that's probably my third favorite nowadays. Because I just have a little bit of more nostalgia for Dear Agony, because I would listen to songs from that album nonstop back in the day, and a lot of those songs just really do mean a lot to me, like Lights Out, Without You, and even the title track. I mean, there's a lot of really great songs on that album, and yeah, so I do think Phobia and Dear Agony are their best work. Now, whenever I heard that Breaking Benjamin was coming back, I want to say this was around 2014, I believe that's when they announced that they were, like, coming back, or at least Ben was coming back to Breaking Benjamin with new members, of course, with Keith Wallen and some other guys, one of the guys from Red also. I was actually pretty excited about that news, like, oh boy, another Breaking Benjamin album probably, And then when 2015 came around, that's obviously when we got Dark Before Dawn. Now, when that album came out, I will say that I was excited. I was definitely excited because, I mean, it was the first time in a while we've gotten any new Breaking Benjamin music. And of course, Ben got new members, and they came back at it with that album, Dark Before Dawn. And I will say that I don't remember being as excited as some people were because, well, you have to remember at this point, this was around 2014, 2015. This was when Breaking Benjamin was coming back. Like, this was at a point where, I was starting to get into other styles of music, specifically metalcore. Because, you have to remember that, it's been years at this point since Breaking Benjamin came out with an album. That was, of course, Dear Agony. So I kind of had to invest more time in other bands and other styles and stuff because it's like, well, I don't want to listen to the same 4 Breaking Benjamin albums over and over, And I think getting into, more than just a few bands is important as a music fan anyways. But yeah, nonetheless, I still was excited for Dark Before Dawn whenever that got announced, whenever Failure came out as a single. Whenever that song specifically came out as a single, I remember just being like, whoa, this band is back, It's like they didn't, they basically picked up where they left off whenever I heard that song. That was basically my thoughts the first time hearing that song. I was like, they just, they picked up right where they left off. Like, this sounds like something that could have been placed on Phobia or something. And I know that's actually a common complaint with Dark Before Dawn. Oh, it's too much like Phobia or whatever, but I mean, whatever. And then, of course, Ember got announced, and that came out a few years later after Dark Before Dawn. Now, I will admit, I don't remember being as excited for Ember as I was for Dark Before Dawn. Because obviously, I was getting into even more styles of rock and metal at this point. That's when I, because whenever Ember came out, before that point, I was starting to invest more time in, some old school stuff, some old school 1980s metal. And, that's when I started getting into bands like Led Zeppelin, so I was just starting my journey with more classic stuff, and classic rock even. So, at this point I was just like, I've kind of outgrown this type of music, but I was still excited for it nonetheless because I remember, hearing about Breaking Benjamin going in a heavier direction on Ember, and yeah, I would say that Ember is one of their heaviest albums. Do I think it's their heaviest album? I'm not sure. Either that album or Saturate is their heaviest album, but Ember is easily one of their heaviest. That is something that goes without saying. I mean, I remember when the first single came out, Red Cold River, I remember thinking, yeah, this album's probably going to be pretty heavy if the rest of the songs are like this. And yeah, some of the songs are pretty heavy for sure. Yeah, not the most impressive album overall, though. Definitely not one of their best. I know some people actually say that it's their favorite or their best album, which I personally don't agree with. But I think it's, it's pretty good for what it is, though. And then a couple years later, we got that acoustic album, Aurora, which, I'll be honest, has not aged very well. I don't really return to that album much. I mean, the only songs that I really return to, nowadays, if I have any desire to return to anything off that album, it's either going to be Failure, which is featuring Michael Barnes from Red, of course, or the new original song, Far Away. So yeah, Aurora doesn't have the strongest replay value, but I wouldn't say that it's terrible, though. But it's okay. It's an okay acoustic album. So yeah, I would say that I'm still a fan of Breaking Benjamin to this day. Now, I will say that I don't like them as much as I used to, obviously, back in 2011. I mean, I feel like this is something that's rather common for some people whenever you first get into a band, I feel like no matter what band you get into, or, what the band is, basically, you're never going to have those same feelings about that band like you did whenever you first got into them, like the year you first got into them. You're never going to have those same feelings. I don't know if I'm alone on that, because I am definitely that way with some bands. There's definitely some bands where, I was just absolutely mind blown whenever I first heard about them and first heard their music and all that. And now it's like, I don't really listen to them much. And it's not because they're bad bands. I just think it's a combination of a bunch of things, really. I think one, maybe it just has to do with being tired of listening to, these songs over and over, or, maybe your tastes change slightly. That's something that definitely happened with me, though. Nowadays, I do prefer music that is a little more complex than Breaking Benjamin because, if we're honest here, Breaking Benjamin is not exactly the most complex band out there. Their music is kind of simplistic compared to other bands. And that's one of my main problems nowadays with this style of music, this 2000s post-grunge hard rock style. I don't think it's a bad style of music by any means. I still think it's good, but I just often wonder, would I still think it's good if I just now discovered it? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's one of the things that kind of play a factor in this. Now, I will say that even though I've been a Breaking Benjamin fan for a decade now, I do think that Breaking Benjamin fans are some of the craziest fans out there when it comes to any band. Because there's some people that take this band way too seriously. They think that, Breaking Benjamin's like the best thing that's ever happened to music, which is quite absurd if you ask me, because I don't know, like, even being a Breaking Benjamin fan for as long as I've been, I just think, like, yeah, they're a good band, but there's so many other bands that, make music that sounds way more interesting. But that's how I feel, there's people that believe that, they're their favorite band and all that. Well, that's obviously subjective, yes, but I don't know, the fans can be, I guess, pretty crazy at times. There's some people that also have really lame reasons for listing Breaking Benjamin as their favorite band as well. Either because of nostalgia, which, I have nostalgic feelings for Breaking Benjamin too, don't get me wrong, but I don't think nostalgia should be a reason why a band should be your favorite. But that's just me. And there's also people that believe that Breaking Benjamin's the best band ever just because, they were featured in the Halo soundtrack or something, which if that's your reason for listing a band as your favorite, then I don't know what to say to you, but yeah. But overall, I still do think that Breaking Benjamin is a good band. Will I be as a big fan as I was back in high school? Probably not. But I still think that they are a good band, and I'll obviously check out the next album that they will have coming out, and, whenever they release new music and all that. So yeah, Breaking Benjamin, still a very good band. If you're into post-grunge or hard rock, check them out. So that's my video, guys, my journey with Breaking Benjamin. I've been a fan for 10 years now, so let me know what you guys think. Are you a fan of Breaking Benjamin? What is your favorite album from them? And just feel free to let me know all your thoughts. So on that note, thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care.